old Steve Austin. I was there when Steph Curry threw his mouth guard.
Did you see that tag you in that? Austin sitting there with the neck brace.
Ridiculous.
And that's when that punk Steph Curry threw his mouth guard at me.
Just fuck.
Why did he throw his mouth guard to get fouled? Was that what he got fouled at?
Yeah, because he's a crybaby. He's not allowed to foul out of anything.
Did you hear Meta World Peace going on about how the game isn't rigged? He like did
It's not, or how it is?
It's not. He did like a video on Instagram. He's like, guys, it's not rigged. You know, sometimes they make mistakes.
I'm kind of in between. They've done some stuff to keep it rigged, but not really completely.
All right.
So who do we have here? We had Arrieta, Kershaw,
Kershaw. Lester's having an unreal year.
Cueto.
Baumgartner. I don't know what his numbers are, but find out if they're pull them up.
All right. Well, we'll start with the Jays then.
Sure. Start with the Jays. They're going
Can you do their game today?
Yep.
All right.
All right.
2, 1. Hello and welcome to the Three Strikes podcast. I'm Joe. He's Phil, dressed as Batman today. Fuck!
I'm not saying I'm Batman.
No, I'm
just saying.
no, I'll do Bruce Wayne. All right, ready?
Okay.
3, 2. Hello and welcome to the Three Strikes podcast. I'm Joe. He's Bruce Wayne. Phil Glenn. Phil, good to see you here, buddy. Jays are another team that's been kind of in character, I guess, recently. They've only one game back of Baltimore. They're in Baltimore today, picked up a big win yesterday. Michael Saunders with those 3 home runs, a Canadian record, 8 RBIs.
They got to knock it off for the Canadian records. How many Canadians are playing right now that are
how many All-Stars
big
are
sluggers?
Canadians?
Yeah, All-Stars. Let's say All-Stars.
Less than 10.
I would, yeah.
And half are probably pitchers.
Yeah.
So the Jays are one game back. Baltimore's at 38 and 28, and the Jays are tied with Boston one game back. Boston's also took a bit of a slide recently as well.
Playing Seattle, who's
you know what? Seattle looks pretty good.
Around, yeah,
they look really good actually. They're in Boston today. Yeah. We got Dickey going today, and for everybody that hates Dickey, you don't want to start him in the playoffs, I guess, but he's been pretty good recently.
He's been one of their more consistent guys, especially after April and May, and he did the same thing last year. You know, he had a bloated ERA through April through May. It was like 4.5, maybe 5. And then June, July, and through August, he settled down. He just couldn't get any run support. I think of their 5 starters last year, he had the least amount of runs scored for him per start. And same thing this season. He just doesn't seem to get a lot of runs. Like Aaron Sanchez last night had 13 runs to work with. And I understand that it can be harder to work with a lead too, because you kind of get relaxed and think, okay, I've got time and this and that.
You also want to throw some strikes if you have to lead, right?
Exactly.
Attack his own.
And Sanchez got burned doing that a couple weeks ago. He had a big lead to work with.
That's Baltimore, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Series, right?
and he got lit up for it.
Yeah.
But Dickey going today, I like the matchup. He's pitched
Gallardo.
well against. Gallardo's a guy the Jays faced a lot last year. He was when he was with Texas, he was a Jays killer. I remember watching a couple of his starts even when he was here in Toronto against them, and they just couldn't seem to hit him. So I like the matchup. I like Dickey. He's been hot, and that their bats are really hot. They love hitting in Baltimore. They clinched the division last year in Baltimore. They love hitting there. 26 runs in their last 2 games. Once against the Phillies and once against Baltimore. So
yeah, and they're 8 and 2 in their last 10. So the Jays, they're really turning it around. They're also getting Tulo off the deal, which I'm not really sure if that's good or bad, because Darwin Barney, he hasn't been as hot at the plate. He's still hitting high 200s, which is pretty good. The defense, you're not really, it's pretty much a wash, I guess, right?
Yeah.
They're both really solid defenders.
Yeah, you bring Darwin in, you move him to second, and you end up moving Goins to short, which is his natural position.
And he's gone back and forth. They both kind of play both.
Exactly. And Barney's a guy that's won a Gold Glove before, so it's not like he's a defensive liability. But obviously having Tulo defensively, you're right, is kind of 1 for 1. But maybe the stint on the DL, with the hamstring problem was just him, okay, take some time, rejig, refocus, and then come back hot, But everybody expected Tulo to take a step back this year.
And he has.
And he has. He's hitting in the low 200s, which is not very Tulo-esque. But he wasn't super hot when he came over from Colorado last year.
That's the thing, which begs the question, is he not the same player anymore? And I think that's kind of the answer that we have to come to. 31 years old, hitting 204, 8 home runs. He's missed, 2 or 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
And he's coming back, he's going to hit 6. And now, with Jose Bautista going to the DL, we're really going to see his loss both in the field
Yeah.
and at the plate, right? He's not the same defender he's been in right field. We know that.
No.
Still one of the best arms in baseball, probably.
Sure.
But
When he's not trying to throw a guy, guys out at first base.
Yeah. Just testing guys with that arm. But Ezekiel Carrera has been pretty good for them recently, and
Yeah.
in small spurts.
Yep.
Not, you know what, he's filled in admirably, and he's going to continue to lead off for this team.
The one thing I like about the Jays bench is when called upon, they've been good, right? You've got to bring guys in like Barney, like Justin Smoke when he's starting at first base. And even Smoke, I know he's hitting around 250, 260, but he's a guy that has a lot of power, defensive. Gets on base.
Yeah.
He's really good defensively at first. What the Jays have done really well over the last week and a half is what they struggled with at the beginning of the year, is hitting with runners in scoring position.
Yep.
They just weren't able to do that. And even guys like Russell Martin, who struggled worse than Tulo to start the year, is taking the ball the other way. He's not trying to go yard all the time. He's going to his power, which is hitting off field. He looks for those balls down and away and rips them opposite field. And that's what
Don't
Martin
turn on them.
excels.
That's what they're trying to do.
Exactly. They're just trying to make contact, because these guys will hit home runs, but
Donaldson, I see they've done that to Donaldson, they've done that to Encarnacion.
Yep.
They're right-handed hitters, and they're both, I think Donaldson actually lefty, but they're both righties. Anyways, they're pitching them both away, and they had a real big problem at the beginning of the season. That's why they started off so slow, trying to go the other way. They're trying to pull the ball, but now I think Encarnacion hit a home run the opposite way recently, and they're just staying on top of the ball, pitching it where it's going, hitting it where it's being pitched. And their averages are all slowly turning around. I think that's a big reason for their resurgence as a team.
Yeah.
Because they're not trying to do too much, and they did before, and they really struggled. Because everybody looked at this team and said, this is a team that won the division, ran away with it last year.
Yeah.
They didn't lose anybody in the lineup.
No,
They lost David Price.
Yeah, that was basically it.
Right? The lineup is essentially the same.
Yeah, I mean, they lost Cliff Pennington.
Yeah, who was a massive loss, right? A perennial all-star. But they lost, who was in the lineup for 2 weeks? Colabello, yeah.
Colabello to the suspension.
Left fielder that they traded to Washington.
Ben Revere.
Ben Revere,
Yeah.
who I love. He's come back for Washington. He's actually done really well in the short time he's been there.
I was really, and I said this before on this podcast, I was disappointed with the Revere trade, and I'm a little more disappointed with it now because Storen didn't pan out, but he's a guy too that's now starting to settle in the bullpen, which is nice to see. He's still, his ERA is
He's
still
at 5.55, and looking at
Yeah.
his last, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last 7 appearances, hasn't given up a run.
exactly. So that's sort of the guy that they traded for to help
5 appearances.
to help offset Roberto Osuna, who hasn't been great his last couple
It's
of
funny,
starts.
I think it was that Boston at Fenway.
Yeah.
Where he came in late because I think it wasn't Storen. It was Gavin Floyd came in.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
Gavin Floyd was really solid, and he's had a bit of a hiccup as well. And then Osuna came in, and he hasn't really been the same since.
No.
Obviously, we know he's going to put it together. Not everybody's
Sure.
going to be lights out all the time.
No.
But yeah, Gavin Floyd's got an ERA now in the mid 4s.
Picking up Jason Grilly was huge, though.
Massive. And they
Massive.
got that with a steal from
Yeah.
Atlanta. A guy who had an inflated ERA, came here, a guy who's been a closer for the Pirates, who was with Detroit back in the day too. And he's
How pumped was he? It
Oh,
was last week.
see that fist pump?
Holy! You would have thought he won the World Series with that strikeout. He was so
First in the
excited.
division. I don't think he's given up a run since he's been with the Jays.
He's been really good.
Striking out a lot of guys.
Yes, and there's a guy that those are the acquisitions that they don't get talked about often through the year, right? Small trades, small things that happen. Pick a guy up
During
off
the season,
waivers
yeah.
during the season, right? Because they kind of get overlooked, but it helps solidify that bullpen. And their offense is starting to come around. So I think the AL East is really on notice, like you said, with Boston struggling, and now this series against Baltimore couldn't have come at a better time.
That's the thing. The Red Sox haven't been able to pitch really all season.
No, their pitching has been mediocre. I mean, David Price still has a 4.5 ERA.
Yeah, we looked at his numbers before the show, and he's definitely picked it up recently.
Yes.
But he hasn't been, as a season as a whole, he hasn't been great. But he's definitely turned it around. Porcello's probably been their next best guy.
I would say their best guy is Wright,
That's right, the
knuckleballer.
Yep, the guy
who's throwing like R.A. Dickey did when he won the
when he won
Cy
the
Young.
NL Cy
Yeah.
Young. Yeah, he's been really good. I forgot about him. But Boston, their hitting is kind of slowed down. We know they're going to hit anyways, but
Yeah.
they couldn't keep up the pace they were at.
No.
Like we said, they're tied with the Jays now, 1 game behind. We have the Yankees at 5.5 behind. They're at Minnesota today,
Mhm.
and then Tampa's hosting San Fran, who's 6.5 games back. But even Tampa, they're not going to win the division, but you can't count them out of the wild card with that rotation.
Not really, no.
They're going to get back
the big thing with Tampa the whole season has been, are they going to score enough runs to be able to win?
And their offense started off really good. Losing Kiermaier was a big loss, though.
Yeah, Dickerson I know has been a disappointment to them because he doesn't have the power this year. It seems that he has in the past years. And Longoria is Longoria. I know he had one injury stint, so that kind of hurt them. But they'll keep the runs down. They just need to score enough to win. I don't know if they'll be able to do it, but anybody in that division is still up for a wild card. Even the Yankees. You look at guys like CC Sabathia, who's been lights out his last 5-6 starts.
That's right. I want to touch on Sabathia. He has been lights out, and you know what? It's great to see because last year when he went on they shut him down. They put him on the deal with the alcohol problems,
Yes,
right, and
he
then
got-
also a bit of a shoulder and everything else.
And good for him. I mean, he took the time off to
cleaned
get
it up. He's done really good. Let's look at his number: 5-4, 2.20 ERA, right?
Phenomenal.
Like in pitching in the AL, he's getting that 2.20 ERA. I know.
Anything under like 3 in the AL East is great.
Ridiculous, yeah. I saw him when he was in Toronto.
Yeah.
The Jays won that game 4-1, and he only gave up 2 runs in the 6 innings against that offense.
Mm-hmm.
He's been really solid. Another team that's been really solid, I want to change divisions right now, going to the AL West. Texas, 18 games above 500. The Jays' best buddy.
Oh yeah,
Right?
best
Like-
friends. They're on a collision course for an ALCS matchup.
Yeah, and they're 6.5 games up on Seattle, who's also been really good.
Yeah. And it looks more and more like Dallas last year, not Dallas, or Houston.
Oh, yeah.
Houston last year was a flash in the pan. I mean, the pitching hasn't been there. You know, Dallas Keuchel hasn't been,
They're only 6 games back.
which
And
is
who knows? They picked it
there's
up
a lot of
little bit.
season
Yeah.
left, right?
Yeah.
What's good for them is their offense is still really good. You know, guys like Springer, Carrera, and obviously Jose Altuve are phenomenal hitters. So they're starting to turn their offense around, which is good. And then the pitching will fall in line. I mean, Mike Fiers is a guy I really liked when he was in Milwaukee. He was a good pickup for them. So I think he's going to turn it around.
Lance McCullers just came off the DL.
Lance McCullers back.
One of their best guys. Yeah.
Exactly. And Keuchel, I think, will figure it out. I mean, you don't put up the numbers he had last year and then fall off that hard. You know, he'll put something together, I'm sure. So they might get into a wild card race. I think Texas has the division, though. I think they're just too well-rounded. And then you always hear Texas is involved with, you know, trade talks to try and add another piece. Because catching is sort of a weak spot for them. And all season we've been hearing that, you know, they're in talks with Milwaukee about Jonathan Lucroy.
Yep. I
And
saw him
now-
yesterday in the Dodgers game. It's pretty.
I like Lucroy.
Yeah,
I followed him. I have him in my fantasy leagues. You know, this is a guy that doesn't have a lot of power, but can rip extra base hits.
He's gonna hit for
quick.
average, yep.
He will hit for a high average. You know, high extra base hits. And he's a guy that has started to play some time at first base for Milwaukee to sort of keep the health in check, which is huge, right? And that's sort of like the natural progression for catchers as they age.
Yeah, Posey's done some time. They're just
Yeah.
giving a day off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Give them a rest, but you want to keep the bat in the lineup.
Yeah.
So okay, we'll put you at first base because it's not as hard on the body.
And then if he does get traded to the AL, of course, he has the DH that he can also play.
Exactly.
And Prince Fielder at first base for Texas has been a huge disappointment.
No.
He
For a guy that spent most of his time playing in the NL, another Milwaukee guy, to make the transition from, you know, I mean, he had experience at first base already, right? Because he didn't have the option at
yeah,
DH,
he did,
right?
yeah, that's right.
He didn't have the option to DH. He had to play first base, so he's turned it around. What I like for Texas is that they moved Sam Dyson to the closer's
Closer,
role,
yeah.
and I think now he's converted 12 of 13.
Yeah, they moved Tollison out of that.
Yeah, they moved Paulson out there because he wasn't reliable. And for Dyson, for a guy that last year was involved in that bat flip with Jose Bautista, right? He's the guy that got taken yard to put the Jays ahead.
Shed a few tears on that.
Oh yeah, it's like he just turned it around this season, and he said, no, not again. It's just not going to happen.
The bullpen actually might be a strong point for them. Now
Yeah.
that I'm looking at another culprit in the Jose Bautista Rufino Odor incident, Matt Bush.
Oh, the criminal.
Straight out of Compton / jail. Right? Like, 15 innings, 17 Ks.
It's impressive.
Yeah, right? Like he's under. Don't leave your kids with them to babysit, but my
But
God,
put him
can
out,
he pitch,
put him in
right?
the 7th inning though.
Yeah, he's gonna lock that down for you. So Texas looking pretty good. Cole Hamels having a monster season. To be honest, I thought his best days were behind him.
I agree. When they traded for him last year, I thought it was a case of
You're gonna
know
get a
what?
second or third starter, right? He's not
Exactly.
the same ace that he's been,
No.
but wow, has he proved us wrong?
And again, he was in that game last year, the Jays in Game 5. You know, he was sitting on the bench when he watched the whole thing fall apart. But I don't know his exact numbers this year, but he's phenomenal. What's nice is that it hasn't hurt them not having Yu Darvish.
That's
right?
the thing. He made those 2 or 3 starts.
He
He's
made
back
2
on the
starts.
DL.
He had made 2 starts at a 2.20, 2.29 ERA.
He was dominant.
And he's back on the DL with I think it's a shoulder.
Yeah, it's not his elbow.
It's on his elbow.
Yeah, so that's good.
So yeah, because a lot of Texas fans would have seen Darvish back on the DL and went, oh great, here we go. But,
especially with all the problems they've had with Harrison, who hasn't really been back, and also Holland. They've had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
Cole Hamels 7-1, 2.88 ERA,
yeah,
122 WHIP. Like he's been like
making
another
a name for himself for an AL Cy Young run.
Yeah, the Cy Young races have been ridiculous. We're gonna get to the NL Cy Young picture in a bit. Another guy I want to talk about with Texas, good old Colby Lewis.
Yeah.
He had a perfect game
Yeah.
going into the 7th or the 8th a couple days ago.
Was the 8th. Yeah, lights out.
Who would have thought? The guy that went back to Japan, he went to Japan for a year or
Yep.
so,
Tried
maybe
to
like
figure
4 or
it
5
out.
years ago, came back and looked like he was going to be an average star in the American League. He's gotten better when people pretty much wrote him off.
Yeah, and it's good. I mean, it's good to see for Texas as well, right? I mean, again, not having Darvish going into the season, it seemed like with Texas fans, it was okay. We'll just bide our time until we can get Darvish back. But the rest of their starters have pulled up their socks and said, you know what? No, we can do this. We've got this, and good for them.
AJ Griffin, another guy we saw him in Toronto earlier, 3-0. He's been on the deal for a while. You talked about Sam Dyson. Holland's been struggling. Now that I think about it, he hasn't been great.
Yeah,
He's actually been terrible. Now we look at his numbers: 5-5, 5.14 ERA. He's really struggled. He had one decent start against Cleveland. Cleveland, they've been surprising too.
Cleveland's at this year
pitching
where I thought they were going to be last year, but their pitching let them down last season, and then they turned it around this year, and maybe getting rid of the GM and sending them to Toronto helped. I don't know, but
maybe just another year of maturation with those guys.
It's possible,
right?
yeah. Kluber won the Cy Young 2 years ago, and then struggled last year. He's turned it around this year, but Kluber's such a confusing pitcher for me because he's a guy that there's no middle ground. He doesn't have any decent starts.
He's dominant or he gets shelled.
Exactly. Yeah. He's either really, really good or really, really bad. We look at guys like what we just mentioned him earlier, like Aaron Sanchez. Last night, he pitched well enough to win, right? He got into trouble at the bases loaded a couple times. He only pitched 6 innings, so it wasn't a stellar start for him, but it was good enough to win. Kluber doesn't have those. He either shuts guys out and strikes out 10 or 11, or he's done in 3 and 2/3. Yeah.
Cleveland is 6 games above 500, 36-30, and they're only 1.5 games up on Kansas City, who's kind of turned it around.
They really
We
did.
know they're going to turn it around.
Yeah, that was only a matter of time.
They always do. Detroit just 3.5 games back there too. I wanted to touch on something with Detroit, which they were very smart. A big mistake was obviously letting Max Scherzer go for Verlander. They had to make that decision with free agency. I think if they had that back, Verlander's, you know what? This year he's been pretty decent.
Yeah.
Last year was a disaster. The year before was kind of a disaster as well. Max Scherzer, one of the best pitchers in the game. But one thing I want to give their GM credit for, who's now with Boston, and his name escapes me. They knew they were going to lose Yoenis Cespedes. Trade deadline's not coming up too much, but I want to touch on this now that I thought about it. So Cespedes is leaving. What do? They go out there and get Michael Fulmer, who you picked him up in fantasy.
I did,
A lot of people picked him up in fantasy. He just had a 20-something scoreless streak, and that just came to an end. They go to the Mets. They say, what can we give you? They have an abundance of pitching. They pick up maybe their 5th best pitching prospect, who's the top pitching prospect with any other team in baseball, really, right?
It just happened the Mets had a lot of pitching prospects.
Yeah, and they know that Detroit has strength in the outfield.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. They went out there and they got, maybe a second starter, right? And you got to give them credit for that. Something that Toronto would probably never do, especially with Anthopoulos.
No.
Now with the Jays turning it around a little bit, you don't want to see them trade Encarnacion or Batista, but you're pretty much assured that you're going to lose one, if not both.
Exactly. And if you could make a deal, because I just with the Jays and with that sort of situation, Bautista would be an easier guy to move because you can at least move him to the NL. Encarnacion, you're kind of handcuffed because no one in the NL is going to take him, right? He kind of has to stay in the American League. I don't know if they have no trade clauses or no movement clauses.
I think they're both. I think they both don't.
They both don't. Probably. I guess I think one of them did, but it was kind of null when they picked up the options on them. So if you can trade one or both of them,
you're sitting in first place at the end of the year.
You don't want to trade both
your losses, right? You're going to pick up.
That's the difference too, right? Detroit wasn't really in the race when they made those trades.
No, they were smart enough to say that they were out of it. They weren't one of those teams that said we're going to go for that second wild card spot.
No,
right?
Because now that's the problem. Now is so many teams
think they're in it,
think they have a chance, and then it's too little, too late, and they go, "Oh, we should have traded so and so, and we should have done this." right? Oakland kind of got into that trouble when they acquired Lester, Samardzija, Jason Hamill, right? They traded Cespedes, Addison Russell,
Yep.
right? And I think they lost in the wild card game.
Yeah, they wanted a huge.
They
couldn't hit after that.
No, their offense plummeted.
Really missed Cespedes.
Exactly. So Detroit was smart enough to say, you know what? We'll make these trades now.
Cut our losses for the season.
Exactly.
Come back next year.
Exactly.
Get back to the Central for a second. So there's Detroit, and sitting in fourth place, 4.5 games back, still not out of it by any stretch, but really struggling.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago White Sox.
They started out really hot, and then I think they've lost now something like 25 of their last 35 or something crazy. Like,
I haven't checked the numbers. I don't know where they sit in terms of hitting. I know when they surprised everybody at the beginning of the year. They were on some ridiculous tear, like about 50 games above 500.
They added guys with a lot of, like they added Brett Laurie, who's got some pop, and
Todd Frazier. They
still have Melky Cabrera. Like there was enough there they thought they could hit with.
Adam Beat, Jose Abreu,
Diano Navarro, who was is he still with Chicago right now?
Yeah, he's still with it. Alex Avila is hitting 227.
Avila's another guy because it was supposed to be Navarro and Avila splitting time because they were both decent hitters. The only real saving grace for them right now is Chris Sale, who's having an unreal year.
We just looked at his numbers. I want to say he was like 11-1.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And like a low 2 ERA.
Todd Frazier's hitting 202.
Wow, unreal. You can't win with that.
No, you can't. Adam Eaton doing decent.
I always get Todd Frazier and the other guy playing for Pittsburgh right now mixed up, third baseman. Can't remember his name now.
Harrison. Was it Harrison? Or is
No.
Harrison playing second?
No, Harrison's playing second. But anyway.
I get that's
David Freese.
Freese and Trumbo I used to get mixed up.
Freese and Trumbo?
They're both big third basemen. That kind of be disappointing. Both guys turned it around this year.
Yes, Trumbo's been huge for
Trumbo
Baltimore
and
this
Freese
year.
both have been ridiculous, to be honest.
Freese has been playing a lot of time at first base for Pittsburgh too. I guess in place of John Jaso with those dreads. But yeah, the White Sox. I mean, we kind of got off topic, but yeah, the White Sox have tailed, and I don't know if it's
Robin Ventura's on the hot seat. We talked about that.
Yeah, Ventura. Maybe they bring back Ozzie Guillen. Come on, bring Ozzie in.
Bobby Jenks World Series run. Remember that call he made to the bullpen? He didn't call for the righty. He called for the
big guy. Is there anybody they could do that for now? Maybe Jabba Chamberlain if he was still around?
If he was still around. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like overly obese pitchers in baseball.
Relievers though.
Yeah. None really come to my mind off the top of my head. Shout out to every pitcher in baseball not being obese that I can't think of off the top of my head. Bobby Jenks had a cup of coffee.
If Bartolo Colon was still in the bullpen, maybe, but...
For as big as Bartolo Colon is, I want to say that his body fat can't be that high because he looks like a solid guy. You look at you touch him and he looks like he's solid.
He wouldn't move.
He's got one of those stomachs that is you can't poke through it.
There
might be a baby inside there.
This guy ripped a double 2 games ago to center field. Just casually, just strolled into second base, a stand-up double.
Did he lose his helmet?
No, it stayed on his head. I was impressed. Even through the swing, it stayed on his head.
He must have a custom helmet for his head because it's got to be an 8+. Barry Bonds.
Highlight of last year was seeing him hit that home run.
This year.
Was that this year?
This year.
Yeah, that was last season.
No, it was about like a month ago.
Oh, okay.
Danny Hare and I remember one of my favorite pictures from back in the day tweets out something. He tweeted out all of his career stats and then underlined it with never gave up a home run to Bartolo Colon.
That's phenomenal.
Career achievement. All right. Speaking of Hare and going to NL, I don't know, to segue to that. Let's go to the National League now.
Yes.
Cubs, I guess we'll start there. Best team in baseball, 45-20.
That's unreal.
They're keeping it up, and you know what? We talked their run differential. They were plus 120, 130, something you said.
It's like 130, 140 anyways.
And off the top of your head, you'd say, hey, like they can really hit the ball, which they can.
Well,
we looked at their pitchers, and they've all been dominant.
You have the numbers there in front of you?
Cover your ears. All the guys with bats in their hands. Arrieta 11-1. Don't have the ERA. The website 0.95.
His ERA is under 2, I think.
Yeah, we're gonna check that.
189.
You got Jason Hamill, who's 7-2 with a 2.26 ERA. Hendricks, their fifth starter, 3.06 ERA. 4-6 record, but whatever.
4-6. But what's his ERA? You said 3.06.
3.06
for your fourth starter.
And then John Lackey, who's been dominant as well. 7-2, 266 ERA. These guys.
And Lackey's a guy that you kind of thought his best days were behind him too.
Oh, for sure.
You know, when
with St. Louis and then to Boston, like both those.
Yeah, it was kind of, you know, like he was really well. He was decent with both teams, and then he goes to the Cubs, and you think, okay, he'll pick up wins because they score a lot of runs. But what's his ERA? He said 286.
266.
266.
Yeah. Arrieta's at 174.
174.
Sucks for Arrieta because you know what? As great of a season and a season and a half as he had, Clayton Kershaw has this thing locked up.
You know what? It's going to be another case of it's going to come down to Arrieta and Kershaw, and you're going to kind of throw the dart at the wall and say it's going to come down to a fringe stat. It really is, because you're going to have the ERA is going to be so close, the WHIP is going to be close, the wins are going to be close. So you're going to have to go beyond that to something like a K to walk ratio, and Kershaw's is historical.
It's historical. We talked about that. It's been ridiculous. I think it was at 20 to 1 or something at one point.
Nobody walks against
Nobody.
He just does not. He said, you know what? I'll just put the ball in the strike zone, and nobody's going to walk ever again. And his curveball is on another level.
158 ERA. We got Clayton Kershaw here. Let's pull up his numbers.
158.
10-1, 108.
What's his whip?
Bench. His whip is 066.
That's walks and hits.
So pretty much you're not getting on base if he's pitching. No. You have a better chance of getting hit by a pitch.
And his ERA is lower than Jake Arrieta's.
133 to 7 is his walk ratio.
133
to 7.
He's walked 7 guys all season, struck out 133. That's you can't just give him the Cy Young.
19 to 1 is his K to walk ratio.
I was 19 to 1 in a ratio in anything in my life.
Noah Syndergaard, a guy we've talked about on.
Would you put him in the race? I mean, he's
yes,
up there.
He's in there. 7-2, 191 ERA. Like these.
That's three. That's 3 guys with ERAs under 2.
106 Ks, 12 walks. His whip's still under 1 at 096. These guys are winning awards any other year. This has to be like we talked about before.
This has to be the pitching year especially for the NL.
The NL Cy Young race has to be. This has to be the best one we've seen maybe ever.
Well, look at those.
Definitely in the live ball era.
Here's your top, 4 or 5 ERAs.
Look at that. You got 2 guys on Chicago. 2 guys, Bumgarner and Cueto, 191, 210 respectively.
Cueto, he's what? He's down the list at 210.
He's 10-1. He's 10-1. These guys don't even pick up losses.
No. And at a 210 ERA, that wins you a Cy Young almost in the other.
Jose Fernandez, another guy who's been lights out recently.
And good for him too, coming off in a couple injuries.
14 Ks, 12 Ks, 11 Ks.
Double digits, that game after game.
118 strikeouts in 80 innings. I'm gonna take a wild guess that he's leading baseball in Ks per 9.
Probably, I would be comfortable saying that. And there's a guy too that for a Marlins team that has had such like black and white in terms of how good or how bad they are. I mean, Giancarlo Stanton's hitting under 200 right now.
Yeah, he just like we said, he's at 200 now for going for 2 for 3 yesterday.
Well, that's right.
And I wanted you to talk about what you saw on MLB Network.
Well, I was watching MLB this morning, and Harold Williams, a guy that
Reynolds.
Or Harold Reynolds. Sorry, I keep saying Williams. Harold Reynolds, a guy that
Jays fans
peeved off a couple of Jays fans last year, but he's a really good analyst, and they showed footage of Stanton in 2013 and 2014 prior to him getting hit in the face by Mike Fiers. And for a guy who's 6'6", he stood so far away from the plate, which was, because he's got such long arms, he can cover the whole plate anyways. His first move was to step in. He was immediately stepping into the plate and stepping into the ball and covering the outer half. So guys
covering the entire plate, yeah.
Guys couldn't pitch him away, they couldn't pitch him inside. That was his first move. After he got hit and they showed the side by side, he's crowding the plate more, and his first step is away. Instead of into, he's stepping away from. So guys have started pitching him down and away, and he can't hit it because he's already moving away from the zone, and he's moving away from the outer half of the plate, and he can't hit it. And when I saw that, it was like, it's such an easy fix. You just change your position, but it's mental. Like
that's the thing.
It's all in his head.
Is it mental? There's something else I heard. I don't know who it was. Might have been Buster Olney, but Barry Bonds now is their hitting coach, and I've heard that Barry Bonds is trying to play with everybody, swing a little bit, trying to make them more like him. He's one of the best hitters ever. But
actually, it's funny you brought that up because they said the same thing this morning on the show because they showed Barry, and his power was always off his back foot. Right, he was very upright, he didn't lean a lot. It was always off that back foot and then the follow through. And it's almost like that's what he's trying to get guys to do. Like he's trying to tweak them. But Reynolds said, don't touch it if it ain't broken.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
But like you said, it's kind of tough to tell whether it's the fear of getting hit in the face.
Yes, or
Can't blame the guy really, or if it's that, or if it's just
because
Barry Bonds kind of trying to tinker with his swing.
they brought up Sammy Sosa because they kind of showed the other side of it, that maybe it's in his head. In 2003, for the first 20 games, Sosa was hitting 333. He got hit in the earpiece, and I can't remember who was pitching, but he got hit in the earpiece, missed a couple games. For the next 20 games, he hit under 200. Like it might have been an anomaly. It might have been, the fear of getting hit again, but maybe Stan will turn it around. But seeing that visual of him stepping away from the plate versus stepping into, that to me is an adjustment in the swing that you've made. You've decided that this is now how I'm going to hit, and it's got to get corrected. Otherwise, I just don't think he's going to hit again. They had Pedro Martinez on the show, and Reynolds said, if that's what you see the guy doing, where are you pitching him? And he said, outside, blowing away all day.
And you would just think that with all the technology that all these teams have, and Barry Bonds being their hitting coach and everything, and obviously Stanton struggling mightily, that these guys would kind of address that. It's going to take time. I know he's not going to hit 200 this season, but it's going to be a real struggle for him even to get to 250 at the season, probably having to hit close to 300 the rest of the way.
Mm-hmm.
He's down to fifth in their lineup. He was their third hitter. They keep moving him down. I don't know how far you can really move him down.
No.
Maybe you're kind of stuck like with the Jays, and maybe you put him lead off or
try
second,
and change something
right,
up,
just to get maybe some more fastballs.
Because I know everybody questioned moving Bautista to lead off, but as soon as they did,
the team's really done well. I can't really say that he's been great since though.
No.
I think he's still hitting like 230.
He is still hitting 230, yeah. But the team behind
It's
him
helped everybody else. Yeah,
exactly.
His on base is still high, just the average hasn't been there.
He takes a lot of walks, so
He does, and
which is
that's
good
why
to see.
getting on base is good. We obviously we talked about D. Gordon with that PED addition.
Yes.
He's been gone.
Yeah.
Derek Dietrich's really stepped up for them. He's hitting 299.
Yep.
Martin Prado 329. Christian Yelich did be a perennial All-Star, probably 317.
Yeah.
And Marcelo Zuna, who wasn't one of the highest prospects in the game, but a highly regarded guy, had a really tough season last year. They talked about trading him. Jeffrey Loria didn't want him around.
Yeah, he was a guy that was
317.
on the block a couple of times because he wasn't really panning out. It was like, well, maybe this is what he is. But yeah, hitting 317, 12 home runs, 37 ribbies. That's an impressive.
Their lineup's not bad.
And I think they still have Ichiro in there.
They do have Ichiro, who just had 3,000 career hits. Congratulations, 3 or 4?
No,
4 professional, maybe?
4 professional between both leagues.
Yeah, he's very close to 3,000
He's
in
20 away from 3,000 in the MLB. So that's been the big debate is, do you count him as being as great a hitter as Pete Rose because some of those hits were in Japan? But somebody brought up a good point to me is that, he had all those hits in Japan, but they play a shorter season. So he compiled more hits into a condensed schedule. So
they don't play 162.
No, I think they play 130. So 30 less games and he had all those hits still. I don't know what the right answer is. I still think he's one of the best hitters in the game for getting on base. Take your pick. Like if you want to stick by and say, well, they weren't in the MLB, then it doesn't count. Then that's fine. Whatever. If he still hits 3,000 hits in the Major League Baseball, good for him.
Take a guess how old Ichiro is.
Oh, geez. Okay. Off the top of my head, 41.
42 years old.
Oh, I was close.
You know what he's hitting this season? Take another guess.
315.
352.
352.
He's hitting 352 and
Oh my-
127 at bats.
Oh my god.
No home runs, no real
That's
surprise
fine, no
there.
surprise. What's his career high in home runs? Probably 6.
Maybe 20 back in the day, but
When he was
352.
For a guy who's 42 years
And
old.
it's funny because I remember, was he with the Yankees last before Miami?
After Seattle? I think so.
I think it was the Yankees.
Yeah, I think
So
he went
then-
from Seattle to New York and then to Miami.
Yeah, and when he was with New York, he was a part-time guy, wasn't really getting much time.
It sort of looked like his career was petering
at
out.
39 or whatever
Yeah.
he was, and the Marlins gave him a minor league deal. Last year, he started off, I want to say this is actually his 3rd year with Miami.
I think
to
it
be
is,
honest.
yeah.
His first year, he was pretty solid.
Yes.
Last year, not so much, kind of picked up towards the end.
Mhm.
But with all the injuries they've had, the Marlins, he's been playing some outfield, and 354.
That's even for.
I'm not sure if he's qualified, but if he is, I mean, he's got to be up there for.
How many at-bats did you say he's had?
127, so it's pretty much like a month.
Yeah.
So he hasn't been a full-time guy yet.
But even for a part-time guy that's hitting that, that's still impressive. And now if you're the Marlins, he only needs 20 more hits to.
And he's going to get that this season if he stays healthy.
I have to think he will.
He
And
might do it this month.
yeah, and if he's a guy who looks after himself. He's obviously taking care of his body. He's still playing into his 40s.
He's a ninja.
So, well, there's that too. That does it. He's the Jaromir Jagr of Major League Baseball.
He is.
He'll just keep playing because he's consistent.
Daniel Murphy leading the National League with a 361 batting average. Remember last year in the World Series and last postseason when he went on that ridiculous run and everybody's saying,
don't sign him.
Don't sign him.
It's a
exactly,
fluke.
it's a fluke. I remember. I want to say he hit 4 straight home runs, or at least in 4 games he hit a bunch of home runs. So the Mets let him get away to the division rival Nats.
Because it was a matter of, well, he was really, really hot, so he's going to want a lot of
Sell
money.
high.
Sell high, yeah. And then he went off and he got paid. Everybody thought, good for
Yeah,
Murphy.
they made a mistake. They're saying the Nats made a mistake, obviously, right? Doesn't look like it. The Nats are sitting in first place, 6 games up on the Mets.
On the Mets, right now.
And the Mets have had some injury problems themselves. Juan Lagar's on the DL. David Wright's going to deal indefinitely
Probably
with that neck
season
surgery,
with the neck
right?
problem.
They're not really sure. Whenever you have a neck problem, that's not good.
Yeah.
Cespedes has been pretty good. He's been a little bit more consistent this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've had too many injuries. Even at first base, they've had some injuries.
Injuries and pitching. Aside from DeGrom and Syndergaard, like Cologne's been good, but Matt Harvey's been the biggest disappointment. And I don't know if it's. I think his velocity's still there, so it's not like he's lost the zip on his fastball, but he just hasn't been. I think he lost last night to Atlanta. He gave up 4. I don't know how many of them were earned, but it certainly wasn't a quality start.
Yeah, 6 innings pitch for 4 runs.
So there you go.
He had a good start. Okay, so his previous 2 starts, he went 6 innings, 7 innings, gave up 1 run and 1 run. Oh, he went 7 innings before.
Yeah.
So his 3 previous starts, he gave up 2 runs combined in 20 innings.
Exactly.
So it looked like he had it together. Giving up 4 runs in 6 innings isn't the end of the world. I know it's Atlanta. That's going to happen though. But
so we'll see if he turns it around. If he can put together, 5 or 6 quality starts in 7 or 8 tries.
Yeah, pitching in that division in the NL in general, it's not really out of the question.
No,
it's clearly not the same guy, but
DeGrom and Syndergaard have really been their 2 go-to guys, which has been good. And like I say, even Bartolo Colon. And I don't know when
Kelly Johnson's at 3rd now.
When Wheeler's back. Who's at 3rd?
Kelly Johnson.
Kelly Johnson, career utility man, every
XJ,
team in the league.
every AL East specialty. Yeah.
I think he's played for all the AL East
Arizona,
teams.
Atlanta, I know that for sure.
Oh yeah, he was in Atlanta. Actually, he was playing for Atlanta last year when I went to the Rogers Center and saw the
second
game.
run with Atlanta.
Oh yeah, so he getting time at third base.
Yeah, it's still really good for him.
Hey, good for him. Yeah, he's making money and he's still playing. So
James Loney's at first base for them now too because they've had problems. I forget his name. The guy they lost injury at first base, but they lost him.
Who, the Mets?
Yeah, Lucas Duda.
Duda, yeah.
Lucas Duda, they lost to injury.
Duda, where's my car?
James Loney at 258. The Mets, they're going to be there just because their hitting has been better than it was last year. Still an above average hitting team. The pitching should continue to be on the uprise.
Yes.
We know they're done. They're going to get Zach Wheeler back.
That's what I was going to say.
After the All-Star break.
Is that when they're projecting after the All-Star break?
Yeah, you got Syndergaard, Harvey, DeGrom, Wheeler, Cologne. These are guys.
You have options.
Cologne's 100 years old, but he's still getting it done from that stem cell or whatever he did in Germany. Can we get on a plane and get that done too? I want to throw 90.
Yeah, how old's Cologne now? He's got to be close to 40. Remember when he pitched?
He's over 40.
I remember when he pitched with the Indians and the Angels. You want to Cy Young with the Angels?
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
With like a 3.5 ERA.
With Bartolo Colon, anything is possible.
He hit a home run, Joe. He can do no wrong.
Bartolo Colon is 43 years old. He's older than Ichiro.
He's older than Ichiro.
They should start up a retirement league.
They're going to have an old-timers league.
Yeah.
Anybody over 45 can play.
Happy Gilmore's grandma's going to be there. It'll be a great time.
She'll manage the team. It'll be great. Now that she's got her home back.
She did pass away.
Oh.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up
Okay.
for the Three Strikes podcast. We're going to try and get together next week for you guys. And Jays are on the uprise for sure. We're going to hope that they can get another series win here. I think they've won 6 of their last 8 series they've actually taken. And if they win today, they're going to be in first place. They'll have the outright lead.
They'll be tied. They'll be tied for first.
They'll
be tied for first.
They'll be tied
It could
with
be a
both
three-way tie if Boston.
If Boston wins today.
Oh, actually, if Boston wins,
because they're 1 game back as well.
Yeah, they're a game back as well. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pitching today. Yeah, sorry, they're playing today as well
against.
Seattle. They're playing Seattle.
Right.
And
they
actually traded in that deal last year. It's coming back to. We got Porcello going today. Like we said,
he's not been a bad pitcher this year. So it could be an interesting week.
Yeah, it should be. Wade Miley's the guy I was thinking about top of my head. Been terrible. But all right, let's get wrap up with Three Strikes. Phil, Joe, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Good stuff.